Hello, and welcome to another empowering episode of Say When, the podcast where we explore the journeys of remarkable women who are reshaping the way we think about health, wellness, and personal growth. I'm your host, Holly Toscanini, and today we have the pleasure of welcoming an incredibly inspiring guest, Kim Hagle. Kim is not just a certified personal trainer and registered holistic nutritionist. She's the host of the Power in Motion podcast and a trailblazer in redefining our relationship with our bodies and fitness. She's on a mission to empower women, helping them break free from the torturous exercise routines, restrictive eating habits, and pervasive body shame. And her approach isn't just about physical fitness. It's about cultivating a respectful relationship with our bodies and freeing up our energy to pursue what truly matters in life. Hi, Kim. Welcome to the Say When podcast. I am so honored to have you as my guest today.
Thanks so much for having me, Holly. It's an honor to be here.
Now, I'm wondering if you could start by sharing with us some of your personal journey. What led you from struggling with body image to becoming a personal trainer and then a holistic nutritionist?
Yeah, it's funny. If you had known me as a child growing up, I'd probably be the last person you'd ever expect would end up working in the fitness industry. So I was never an athletic person. I was the kid who was picked last for all the sports teams. And I was into music and books and was staying in as much as possible. I believed from a very early age that I was slow and clumsy. And so I shied away from anything athletic. But I do have a long history of negative relationship with my body, that I can think goes back to at least the age of 11 or 12, probably even younger than that. So I remember trying what we would now call a diet. I didn't think it was a diet at the time, at around age 12. And that continued well into adulthood. And it got more serious and more regimented and more like formal dieting.
Mm-hmm.
And it never really worked, as we know, right?
Yeah.
Dieting never works, and we never are able to keep the weight off. But I have 4 children, and after my third was born, I had been a nurse, and now I was like a stay-at-home mom, and I was really struggling with my identity. I didn't really pinpoint that at the time. I really just thought it was about my body. I was very focused on my body and how it had changed after having 3 children. And I wanted to do something about it. I felt like I needed to do something about it. Dieting hadn't worked up until this point, and I was tired of trying new things. And a friend of mine had had some success in hiring a personal trainer. And I thought, well, maybe I could go that route. So I found this trainer, and she was just lovely. She came to my home and she worked out with me while my baby was napping. And for the first time in my life, I felt like strong and empowered, and I really loved moving my body, and it gave me something for me, and I was just loving it. And I realized how capable I actually am and how much I had missed out on in my younger years. And I just felt so good and strong in my body. I fell in love with fitness. So that is what led me to become a personal trainer. And of course, because I was using fitness as a means to try to lose weight, my trainer also had me start tracking my calories and like making sure that I didn't eat more than I was burning. And so like dieting entered back into my life. It was subtle at first, but it became pretty extreme. So, as I was dieting, I started learning a lot more about food and how food was affecting my weight. So that is what also led me to pursue a career in holistic nutrition. And then along the way, of course, I was doing all of this and I did lose some weight. And I got a lot of praise and validation and recognition for that. I was hearing like, oh my gosh, you're such an inspiration. You look so good. How are you doing it? All of this. So, that became my incentive to make it my career, right? And quote unquote, help people to have similar results to what I was having. So yeah, that's how I kind of got into the field. And then I'm sure we'll talk about how it has changed and evolved along the way.
I So many people can relate to your story because I know PE was the worst for me. One, I'm tall and I was bigger than everybody else. But like you, I just never felt athletic. I wasn't naturally gifted. I didn't do a lot of that stuff. I was a musician. I wanted to stay indoors and read. I wanted to play and do other quiet activities. And so I never really felt like I fit in. And PE can be traumatic in elementary
Oh,
school,
is it
but boy, wait
ever?
till high school, right?
Yes.
Feeling like your body is just not right. That's tragic. And then, also when you discover a joy of movement and then you get that hit of praise from other people because you're getting smaller, or
Yeah.
you're looking more quote unquote fit, that's
Yeah.
really a powerful and kind of addictive. You want more and more praise for stuff like that, and it's easy to get caught in that trap.
Oh yeah. Well, especially when I had been picked on and like cut from all these teams and like told that I was no good at anything
Mm-hmm.
sports related. And then, filter in all of the like fat phobic messaging I'd heard all along. And
Yeah.
yes, my body is wrong and all of this. And then to start getting the validation that like people really like me now in this body. People look up to me like, yeah, of course you're gonna get hooked on that.
Yeah. So you've been in the industry for a while, haven't you?
12 years.
Wow. So,
Mhm.
can you think of maybe some specific experiences or realizations that started that shift from focusing not just on weight loss, but to really being able to appreciate your body for what it can do?
Yes. Yeah, so it wasn't a direct shift in my business.
Hmm.
It was a realization in myself that came after a bunch of personal struggles and just the inability to keep the weight off. Like,
Hmm.
I really thought I had cracked the code on long-term weight loss. Right? Like
Yeah.
all you got to do is exercise regularly and eat quote unquote clean and then it's a
Yep.
no-brainer. Well, it's not a no-brainer, and that only worked for a couple of years, and then I had to just increase my level of perfection and like,
Hmm.
exercise at a rate that was just not sustainable. So, 5 years down the line, I'm not able to maintain this weight loss. And we can talk about some of the personal struggles that went along with that. Um, I went through a divorce, and that was kind of the height of my disordered eating and exercise relationship. And honestly, like probably what helped distract me from what I was going through. Like I ran an awful lot, and I
Hmm.
really controlled food during that time. But like I say, it gave me something else to think about than this other stuff that was going on behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it
I mean,
was
you're
something I
right. I
could
mean,
control.
exactly. And I think that's the main thing, is that it gives you something to control. And I don't think it's just you or me. I think there's a little dirty secret in the fitness industry that so many fitness professionals, they don't have a normal relationship with food and exercise. When you
Mm-mm.
said you made it your job, I can so identify with that, because that's exactly what I did when I was like, nope, that's it. I'm going to do this. I became a personal trainer. I got into nutrition, and all of that shifted for me too. And the only way, and I bet this is your story too, the only way I could keep my weight off was by really restricting my food, making sure that I did my, steps or numbers or calorie burn each day. But I also was working for a doctor at the time who prescribed weight loss medications. And when you have something
Mm.
that takes away your appetite, it's really easy to pretend like you're doing it on your own and then trying to coach people that they can do it by just counting their calories. It really is, it's a lie. It really is a lie, that a lot of us tell people when we have such a disordered eating with food ourselves. We're telling everybody out there, oh, just count your calories, you'll be fine.
Hmm. Yeah, and I was being dishonest about what I was doing. Like I was very much telling people like you just have to exercise regularly and
Mhm.
manage your calories and it's fine. But meanwhile, I'm eating probably 800 to 1,000 calories a day
Right.
and working out 2 hours a day. Like it's not exactly normal, right? And I'm
Yeah.
not telling. Plus, I'm doing cleanses like every so often because I was just adding in all of these other dysfunctional habits to try to like keep up the facade. And it worked for a period of time, but then, like I say, the divorce was very stressful, and
Yeah.
eventually, like that part resolved itself, and I did move on, and I met somebody wonderful, and then
Hmm.
I started like enjoying life a lot more, right? And like eating more, and not wanting to exercise so much, and I did start to put on a bit of weight, and but I was okay
Hmm.
with that. I was like, they're happy pounds, and but I was still controlling it. Like there was a limit to how much I was willing to allow myself to gain. And
Hmm.
so that was the beginning of the unraveling. Took a more moderate approach to things. But
Right.
then this lovely human that I met, we ended up getting married and we had a
Uh-huh.
child together. So this is my fourth child now, and he has Down syndrome.
Hmm.
And it was in the birth of him where I was just like, oh my God, like what am I doing? This is like, I do not have the time or the mental capacity to try and control my body. Like I did try at the beginning. I started back running when he was 3 months old and blew a disc in my back, and then I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of the wake up call of like, do you really need to be doing all of this? Like, does the
Yeah.
people in your life that love you and need you and care about you, do they care if you aren't like this perfect, like fit ideal that
Right.
that you're trying to be? So that was the unraveling of it all for me. Plus, I was like just putting the pieces together. All the clients that I was supposedly helping along the way weren't having so-called success, right? They
Yeah.
were not either able to lose the weight or keep it off. And I was like, it doesn't work. Like what I'm telling people
Hmm.
doesn't work. So I didn't exactly shift to the weight neutral approach. What I did is I quit. I quit
Yeah.
fitness and I
Uh-huh.
went and did something else for 2 years because I thought like I can't do it anymore. Like I can't maintain this fit ideal. I'm not a good role model and I
Yeah.
have no place in this industry. So I
Yeah.
just kind of walked away and went and did something else for a couple of years and then kind of did my own work, healing my own body image and relationship with food. Exercise came later. Like I didn't
Hmm.
really understand how dysfunctional that was for quite a while.
Hmm.
Um, and it was in the unraveling of all of that that I started to become aware. Like I didn't even know diet culture was a word or health at
Yeah.
every size. Like I had never even heard those terms, but I started to like kind of become aware of this whole movement. I found our mentors work through a random Facebook ad when I was
Uh-huh.
kind of doing all of this processing. And that was the wake up call for me is like, wait, like you can pursue health and fitness and whatever without dieting, like without weight loss. What?
It's
What?
shocking when you hear
Right?
it the
Like
first time. Yeah. Your
it,
brain almost breaks a little
it
bit.
did. It did break a little bit. I'm like, I don't understand this, but I like it. I want it. So I kind of started, diving into that for myself. And it was in that
Mhm.
I was like, man, the fitness industry is getting it all wrong.
Yeah.
And we're actually harming people. Like we say we want to make people healthier and we're not doing that. And we're actually making it worse. So this is what people need to hear. And that's what kind of brought me back into the world of fitness is like, I can't sit on this knowledge and not let people know that there's another.
Right. I think that's the big lie with the diet industry as a whole is that it's not always about making people healthier or making people happier. It's about recurring income because it doesn't work, but you keep selling them on
Mm,
the idea that it does work if they just did it right. And there's
mm.
always a new way to do it that's going to be better than the last way, but the end results are always the same.
Always
You
the
might
same.
lose, but you're going to gain it back. And so
Mhm.
by telling you it's your fault, then they're going to keep you purchasing, their weight loss programs and their meal plans and their, fitness stuff over and over and over again. So yeah, it's a great way to have recurring income, to make sure that you stay in business. And it's just the
Mhm.
fault of your clients that they're not doing it good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and I believed that for so many years, like that it was my fault that I wasn't able to keep the weight off, and it was the fault of my clients too. Like you just need more discipline. Like it
Hmm.
should be easy.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's a real shame because there's so many people like living in shame and thinking that they are a problem when really it's the product itself. Like I can't think of any other product in the world that would still be on the market with a 95% failure rate, and yet dieting's
I
still
know.
very much alive and
God,
well.
when you say it like that, it's like, wow, you're right. 95% failure rate, but I'm going to buy two more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Well, can we talk just for a second about your kind of beginning journey when you were just starting to kind of understand the concepts of diet culture and kind of um, what was the fitness industry getting wrong? What were some of the things that you personally felt were the most challenging in shifting sort of the way you were thinking about your body or your perspectives on kind of everything you thought you knew about health and fitness?
Oh gosh, there's so much, but like, let's talk about some of the main ones. Like I really, really believed that fat was bad, fat was unhealthy, and that
Mm-hmm.
you could tell a person's health or fitness level by looking at their body.
Mm-hmm.
And that Another message that's very pervasive is that if we do everything right, if we eat well and exercise, that we should be afforded a healthy life, right? That nothing bad will
Hmm.
ever happen to us.
Right.
Right? And those were some of the big ones, is that, that none of those are true. Those are the big lies, that like
Hmm.
you have to be thin to be healthy, that everybody should be able to achieve thinness,
Hmm.
and that by achieving thinness, you should have this wonderful, perfect, healthy life. Yeah, none of those are true.
No, not at all. And I know, for a lot of people, especially people that have a background in fitness and nutrition that get into this, the non-diet approach to health that you and I talk about, in the beginning, there's this sort of liberation and freedom, and that, oh my God, I don't have to do this anymore. But at least for me personally, and I don't know if this was your experience as well, in the beginning, there was always that little voice in the back of my head that kept saying, it's okay for everybody else to be fat, but you can't be fat.
Yeah.
And so I kept struggling with, my body is not the same as it was. I had gained weight, and going through the whole intuitive eating process, because I wasn't dieting and restricting so much anymore, my body did change. And I
Mhm.
found some balance in that I am now happy with. But in the beginning, it still felt like a little bit of a lie, that I was telling all of my clients, you can be healthy at any size, but I myself was still struggling with this concept, or this, like fat phobia, that it's okay for everybody else to be happy with their bodies, but I still have to look a certain way. Was that
Yeah.
any of your experience at all?
Oh, it was very much part of the experience, right? And it still is. And I know that, in doing this whole shift to the weight neutral approach, that I have lost some followers, and like there are some people who just do not want to believe what I have to say, and they're not
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
Um, and my body has changed considerably too. Like I have put on substantial weight from when I was at my thinnest.
Hmm.
And there is this feeling like I have to prove that I'm healthy at this size,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah, I've gained weight, but I'm still healthy. And I'll tell you, though I've continuously been working on my body image, I recently have experienced a health challenge, and it drew me into a deeper just level of this work, right? Is that,
Hmm.
you can, like, I had to really question some things, like, can I be healthy at any size? Like, I'm
Hmm.
now having a health challenge and I've gained weight. Like, how do I know that it's not the weight?
Yeah.
And all of this, right? And like, and there's a level of like, what are people thinking then? Like, they've seen this like change in my body, and now I'm being open about this health challenge that I'm having. Like, are they assuming that it's because I've been reckless? And like, I had to unpack a whole lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, they're just assumptions. And the thing is, like, people are healthy and unhealthy at any size,
Yeah.
right? There, if it were true that BMI was the be all and end all for health, then everybody who's in a thinner body should never get sick, and everybody who's in
Hmm.
a larger body should be sick by default, and they're not, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I still very much believe that it's the habits that we engage in that are a bigger contributor to our health status. And even then, that's only a small part of our overall health picture, right? Like there's a whole
Hmm.
bunch of factors beyond our control that contribute to our health, like genetics and the things that we have access to and privileges in life that contribute to our health. So there's a lot that we cannot control, and I think that's the thing that people really need to accept is there's no guarantees in life. There's no guarantees of health, and you can do everything right and stuff can still happen.
Yeah. I think it's so important for people to know that just because you're a coach, it doesn't mean you're perfect or that you have it all figured out. Because I know that your personal experiences with body image and fitness have really shaped your coaching style. How do you find that kind of interplay with your clients when you're relaying some of your own stories? Do you find that it really changes your ability to coach them maybe on a deeper level?
Mhm. Yeah, I think having walked this walk and um experienced the changes that I have in my body and experienced the realities that go along with that,
Hmm.
the praise that one gets when they're thinner, and then I've experienced like medical weight stigma recently, and like there's realities of living in a larger body, that are there is a lot of stigma, and there's a lot of judgment, and there's a lot of just stereotypes,
Hmm.
right? And I think, having the experiences that I have, like, makes me empathetic to those realities, and we're able to understand where people are coming from and the feelings that they're feeling, but
Hmm.
also coach them through it. Like, just because these stereotypes exist and just because these stigmas exist doesn't mean that you are less worthy. And
Hmm.
you can still learn to love and accept yourself and your body, even if it's not societally conforming, right? Like, it might feel like you can't,
Right.
but you
Right.
can.
I know that what I hear so often with my clients, especially the beginning of our coaching relationship, is that so many of them still have this sort of grief or sadness over the idea that they're never going to have that quote unquote perfect body. It's like they feel so sad that they're letting go of that fantasy. And for a lot of people, it's hard to overcome. And I think there are some that just can't get past it. And that's why the concept of intuitive eating or even body acceptance or body neutrality becomes so challenging.
Mhm.
How do you advise your clients when they come to you with those sort of concerns or fears?
Yeah, like it makes complete sense that you would have them. Like, that's the first step, right? Is normalizing those fears. Of course,
Hmm.
you would fear that living in the society that we do. Like, it is a reality that we treat people in larger bodies differently. So
Hmm.
it would make sense that we would not want to put ourselves in that position where we're like almost opening ourselves up to stereotypes and mistreatment.
Yeah.
Um, oh my gosh, I just forgot what your question was.
That's all right. I think you answered it. I think you did a great job. I think you got to the heart of it because honestly, I know that we talked earlier about this kind of fear of fatness that so many people have, and I think that's a lot of the times what it is. It's just so hard to let go of the concept that you don't have to change your body in order to be healthy or happy or confident, that you can actually have those feelings. And the
Yeah.
thing that I hear so often is I don't feel comfortable in my body. And I think, one of the things that we learn is the idea that that is a feeling and
Hmm.
not a fact,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
such a mind-blowing concept for so many people to wrap their brains around, is that you can change the way you feel about your body.
Yeah, and you can change the way you feel in your body too,
Hmm.
right? Without having to change the way that your body looks, right?
Yeah.
And so, especially in my work in fitness, that's what we focus on, is like, okay, I know you say you want to lose weight, but what's behind that? What
Hmm.
is the feeling that you think weight loss is going to provide for you? And
Yeah.
maybe it's something like, well, I think I'll move better. I'll be able to get up and down the stairs better. I'm not going to have as much pain. I'll be able to get down on the floor and play. And like, there's something else that they think weight loss is going to provide, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
let's go there. Like, and I don't tell them to just forget about weight loss. Like, you can
Hmm.
have that desire, because of course it makes sense that you have that desire, but can we just kind of put it on the back burner and not make it our focus, and
Yeah.
focus on these tangible things, these feelings that you're after in your body? And we can actually measure those feelings, right? Like, it gives us
Right.
something more tangible to work with. Like,
Hmm.
if it's this hard to climb the stairs right now, let's call that your starting point, and then in 3 months we'll reassess after we've done some fitness training and some strength training. Like, how does it feel climbing the stairs now,
Yeah.
right? And that's
Well, let's talk about that a little bit,
Mhm.
because I think you may have really hit something that's super important that so many people um, come to coaching with, is that I don't feel comfortable. It's hard for me to do the things. And you hit some like very specific things: getting up and down stairs, getting up and down off the floor, maybe playing with your kids, or getting in and out of the car, or, things like that. So what are some key elements of your coaching that help women understand that they can feel better in their bodies, and then
Mhm.
maybe also give us some tips that you would give to somebody who's coming to you with these real aches and pains that they are correlating to their weight, and how would you sort of coach them through the process, and where would they begin to get their fitness back?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, where I would start is like, providing some education about the validity of that statement, that it is your weight that's causing
Mhm.
these problems. And a lot of people say, but I didn't have these problems when I was smaller. And that may well be true. But what we do know is that there is no sustainable way to lose weight and keep it off, right? We've already talked about that. So like to me, that is not a viable approach, right?
Yeah.
And
No.
research has also shown very clearly that when we focus purely on body shaping and weight loss as a motivator for exercise, it's actually the opposite. It kills your motivation because it's
Mm.
like, let's face it, it's rooted in the belief that my body's wrong. I need to fix myself. I'm no good. And it causes us to engage in fitness in a really like hardcore, punitive kind of way. And nobody wants to keep
Oh,
that up for
yeah.
a long time. Right. But when
Right.
we
It's hard. And as we get older, it's even harder to keep that level up.
No kidding. No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
But when we can focus on tangible benefits like real life goals and
Mhm.
how we feel, then and see those gains, see those wins, then we're more likely to want to keep coming back because we're like, okay, I can do things. I feel better. Like weight may change or may not, but at least you're
Mhm.
doing the things that you want to do. So
Yeah.
that's like the first step is I educate people on those things and that, there actually is no science that proves that losing weight will solve all of those problems. Like people in smaller bodies have bad knees too, right? It,
Exactly.
it happens to everybody. So what they do know is that by focusing on your functional fitness, you
Mhm.
can see benefits in all of these areas, right? So if you're having trouble getting up and down off the floor, I can help you improve your mobility and your strength so that we can get you down and up, right? And we just build your fitness program in such a way that we progress from where you are
Right.
now to where you want to go. And it just keeps your focus on what really matters, right? And then we're doing exercises also that relate to your goal, right? Where a lot of
Mhm.
fitness is like, well, just do squats, do push-ups, do this, do that, like run 5 miles, but maybe you want to do those things or maybe those things matter, but they might have zero relevance for your real life goals. So,
Right.
you know,
And I think that's important. Would you just, for anybody who's not familiar with the term functional fitness, would you just give a brief description of what that is and the importance it plays in the training that you do with clients?
yeah, functional fitness is exactly how it sounds. It's about improving the function of your body, right?
Mhm.
So it's all about helping you move better and with more freedom. And in functional fitness prioritizes real life movements, right? Like, I mean, yes, I have my clients do bicep curls and things like that, but it's more about training your body to move the way that it needs to in real life.
Mhm.
So like a wood chop movement is a common move in functional fitness where you're taking a weight from over here and then pulling it up and putting it over here. It replicates picking up an object from the floor and putting it up on the shelf. We do a lot of getting up and getting down type movements, right?
Mm.
We do
Yeah.
like stair climbing and like things that you do in real life, right?
Mhm.
'Cause that's really what it's all about. Like fitness isn't about achieving a certain look, or it shouldn't be. Like when
Right.
I think about what's important with fitness is like I want to be able to get off the toilet when I'm 90 without help. I want to be able to get
Yes.
down the stairs. I want to I just want to be able to do the things I want to do in life for as long as possible. And I want my fitness routine to support that goal of longevity.
Right. Yeah. Now, when you are working with your clients, you mentioned a little bit of weight training when you said something about bicep curls. Is weightlifting something that they have to do, or is it something they work into, or sort of how do you get started with a client coming to you for the first time? What's sort of the process you go through when you begin working with someone?
Yeah, it's very individual. That's why I love working one-on-one with people because then we can really like customize the
Hmm.
the approach that we take to their needs and their history, right? Like I have found, especially in my work, like a lot of the people that come to me have, like I do, disordered relationship with exercise.
Hmm.
So I have one in particular. I see her virtually over Zoom, and she had a pretty traumatic past with
Hmm.
exercise, like a lot of like burpees and hardcore things. Like she tells a story of being in this one gym where at the end of the workout, everybody had to get in a circle and hold hands and hold a squat for a minute. And if anybody came up from that squat, then they had to start again for another minute.
Oh,
So she's like, they would just like hold each other down for this, like things like that. Like,
wow.
so for her, getting back into movement was really loaded,
Hmm.
right?
It sounds like
So
it.
Yeah, right. So I did not ask her to pick up a weight for a very long
Yeah.
time. She is now, and she's
Hmm.
very much enjoying it. But the first part of our work together was a whole lot of, like, we didn't even move for quite a while. It was a lot of talking and just getting all of this stuff out and getting to the bottom of the exercise trauma she had, and like helping her build her sense of authority in herself to choose how she wanted to move and what she needed for herself and how she wanted to feel without it having to fit into this box of what exercise is supposed to look like. And
Right.
then we
It,
gradually started rolling around on the floor and, like,
uh-huh.
adding in some mobility and stretching. And eventually now she wants to start running and lifting weights again. So we're doing that. But it took a couple of years.
I love that you are willing to take clients at their own pace through this. It's not like you've got this protocol that you overlay on everyone. It's like, we're going to do 3 weeks of this and 3 weeks of that, but that you really figure out where they are, not just physically, but where they are in their head with how they feel about exercise, what their maybe past traumas around exercise were, and what their ultimate goals are. And I love that you are so realistic about movement. It's not about running marathons, right? It's about balance and flexibility and strength, and, not falling on the sidewalk when you trip over a crack. It's the little things that we kind of take for granted, especially as we get older. We need to have that ability to move through the world and feel safe in our bodies.
Hmm. And when we only focus on weight, we forget about all of those things. Right. And, I've talked to so many people who are like, yeah, when I was working out regularly, like my balance was better and I did feel
Mm.
stronger and I had more energy and I was sleeping better at night. And I was like not as impatient with my kids, and they're listing off all of these benefits. They're like, but I stopped losing weight, so I quit going. I'm like, but it was
Yeah.
oh my gosh, no, but you felt so good. Like, and that's the worst thing, like, that comes out of the fitness industry, is that if you're not losing weight, you're doing something wrong, or that's the
Right.
only reason why you would keep doing it. I'm like, it's so messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot of misinformation around body size and health. And it sounds like you're addressing these misconceptions in your programs, which is not just a good idea, but it's essential, I think, to help people get out of that trap of exercise means burning calories and earning food. And the
Mhm.
ultimate goal of any weight loss, or excuse me, any fitness program, is weight loss. Do you
Mhm.
still have clients that struggle with the scale and kind of
Mhm.
wanting to get on it, or a fear around that?
Yep. Yep. I had one a body image client in particular. I've coached her for quite a while. And it took her, I'm going to say, a year and a half to 2 years to put her scale away.
Mm.
She knew she wanted to, but she just couldn't let go of that desire for weight loss, right? And
Hmm.
that hope that if she got this intuitive eating thing down and this joyful movement thing figured out, that eventually the weight would come off, right? That
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, so there's a lot of work on peeling back the layers of what her weight meant about her,
Hmm.
and and building up her sense of confidence and worthiness just because she exists, just as a human, like that,
Right.
to learn that she was more than a body took quite a while, but she got there, she did. And that's always such a proud moment when people start to get that and then embrace body neutrality, and then the intuitive eating and movement work just becomes so much easier, because it's like,
Yes.
they're just doing it because they care about themselves and they want to feel
Right.
their best, right?
I'm so glad you brought that up too, because I think in the beginning of a coaching relationship, a
Mm.
lot of our clients have that belief that if intuitive eating is going to work for them, then their body will naturally lose the weight that they're not supposed to have in the first place. And I think that is one of the hardest things to let go of, is that just because your body isn't losing weight on intuitive eating, that it's not working, because weight
Mhm.
loss really isn't the goal of intuitive eating. But so many people come to it with the idea that I want to do this holistically and naturally, so I'll do it intuitively, but my body will still shrink.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
and
hard
the
to
truth
let go
is,
of that.
our body will stabilize at its
Hmm.
happy weight, but we have no way to predict whether that's going to be higher or lower or the same as what your weight is now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard to let go of that. But once you are able to, it's really like you put down a weight, literally, like you are not carrying the burden of the anticipation of, am I losing? That's so much stress to put on yourself.
Yeah.
To only measure your joy, happiness, or success in life by what the scale says, it's you really are losing out on so much more.
Well, yeah, and it just takes up so much space in your brain. And I think that's the biggest win that I see in my clients is that once they let that go and like know that they're worthy and they're enough as they are, then all that mental space that they're using for planning
Mm-hmm.
workouts and food and all like gets freed up to do the things that they really care about in life, right? But
Mm-hmm.
have always thought that they're not worthy of pursuing because their body isn't good enough, right? So
Right.
that's the real win of it all.
Yeah. We've talked about so many things that
Mm.
are wrong in the fitness industry and even in the health industry.
Yeah.
Take a minute and I want you to think, do you have like a biggest pet peeve, or is there like one thing that just gets under your skin every single time you hear it that you could think of that you're just like, if I could get rid of this one thing?
Yeah. Yes, I have many, but the one I could, we could talk all day about all the messages in fitness that are wrong, but they all kind of boil down to the same bottom line, which is that it's like the no pain, no gain, go big or go home kind of mentality that if you're not exercising as hard as you can, if it doesn't hurt, if you don't sweat, if it's not an hour long, it's not good enough. It doesn't
Mm.
count. And like
Oh,
I'm
yes,
there
yes.
every day, at least weekly, I have people saying like, "Oh, I walk, but it doesn't count." Like I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually crazy. I had a client who she works in retail and in a big box store. She
Mm-hmm.
walks a lot, like a lot of steps throughout her day, and she was feeling exhausted. She was feeling very, very tired. So she went to her doctor to figure out like why is she so tired all the time. And her doctor was like, "Well, are you exercising?" And she said, "Well, I walk a lot with my job." And he goes, "No, but are you doing any workouts? Like, are you sweating? Are you building muscle? Are you doing anything outside of your job?" And she's like, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
no, like I'm too tired. This is why I'm here. I'm so tired." And he said, "Well, you really should like find some time for exercise in there." And she came to me and told me that, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's ridiculous." Right. So I
Mm-hmm.
had her actually, I'm not a big fan of tracking usually, but I said, "Could you track your steps for a week?" And she was averaging 25,000 to 30,000 steps
Oh my
a
gosh.
day. Right. And her doctor's telling her it doesn't count and it's not enough. I'm
Mm.
like, that could be why you're tired. Right.
Ugh.
Like,
And that is such a good point to make because I think so many people feel just like that. They don't understand that the things that they do every single day add to their level of fitness. And then on the other side of that coin, they will maybe not do anything because they don't have an hour or an hour and a half to dedicate
mhm.
to it. So it's like, I'm not going to go for the 10 or 15-minute walk because it's not enough. It's
Yeah.
not going to matter. So I'm not even going to do it.
Yeah. And I think when you logically look at that, it makes no sense, right? Like anything is a deposit in the in the bank of feeling better in your body,
Yeah.
right? I don't
Yeah.
know if it's 1 minute or 5 minutes. Like if you're doing nothing, anything above nothing counts, right? But a lot of us discount what we're already doing. Like we do,
Mhm.
some people do quite a bit in their day-to-day life that they think doesn't count. And
Right.
so then they tell themselves they're not doing anything when in fact they are.
Right.
But yeah, I think anything counts in this all or nothing mentality, like you say, just it's so defeating, right? Like, well, if I can't do
Hmm.
the hour, if I can't give it my 100%, or if I can't keep up with the people in the class, or lifting weights hurts my body, or what, like there's so many barriers. So if they think I
Hmm.
can't do the no pain, no gain thing, then I guess exercise just isn't for me,
Right.
and they don't do it, right? And then they're
Yeah.
missing out on all of those potential benefits when it's like, I don't, if you just do this, it
Just
benefits your
just
body.
stretch.
Right?
Yes.
Like it all matters, it all counts. Like, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's just like what I teach my clients is like I teach them this whole embodiment process of like tuning into yourself and finding out
Hmm.
what it is that you need. Like, how do you
Hmm.
feel now? How do you want to feel? And what do you need? And give yourself permission to decide what's enough
Right.
and what's right for you.
For anybody who's listening to us now and is, interested in maybe getting back into some sort of a fitness routine, would you say that embodiment is where you begin, or what are some of the sort of initial steps that you would offer or advice you would give them just to get started?
Yeah, embodiment is a great place to begin if you have the tools to do it, right? If you're a
Mm-hmm.
little bit familiar with tuning into your body and listening to your body, if you've already done some intuitive eating work, that can be a great place. Just use the same kind of process that you would with tuning into your hunger and fullness cues, but
Mm-hmm.
tune inward and sense what your body needs in terms of movement. Um, if that feels out of reach, a great place to start would just be getting really real about how much movement am I currently doing, and
Mm-hmm.
like, how am I feeling the way that I want to feel in my body? Like, just get really honest about, am I functioning in my body the way that I want to?
Mm-hmm.
How do I want to feel? And then, like, what's one small thing that I can do to move in the direction of that feeling? Right? Like,
Yes,
forget
I
the
don't think people
like
give the
joining
little
the
steps
gym.
enough. Yeah, they don't give the little steps enough credit. You want to celebrate all the little things that you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And start with one thing, right? If you want to be able to get up and down the stairs with greater ease and without getting winded, well, climb the stairs a few more times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Start
Mm-hmm.
there. Start there. And then,
Yeah.
you can build on that habit. There's always lots of room for growth, but the way out of all or nothing is all or something, right? If
Oh, I
all if
love
all
that.
feels out of reach, do something
Yeah.
very,
All or
very small.
something.
Yeah.
Right. That's my new motto in
Yeah.
life. All or something. I've got to do something. I think that's the best way to start is just do something.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
Kim, it's pretty clear that your journey and your specific insights really offer a transformative perspective on fitness, nutrition, and body image. And I feel like your approach goes way beyond traditional fitness programs and paradigms and really challenges us to redefine our relationships with not just our bodies, but with what health means for each one of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is something that I ask my clients to dig into, right? Is because most of us, like, often when I ask this question to people, what does health mean to you? They go, I don't know, isn't it just what you eat? like
Right.
it's not really something they've ever thought about, right? And if they do, then they think, well, it's either how much I weigh or it's whether I have diseases or not.
Hmm.
We don't put a lot of thought into health, but health is so much more than just our physical body or our lack of disease, right? We
Right.
have our mental health, which, we're not really taught to prioritize, our emotional
Mm-mm.
health, and these things can all suffer when we're actively pursuing weight loss and like killing ourselves at the gym, right? So
Yeah.
like, we take a holistic approach to your health, and yet there's seasons where your mental and emotional health need to be priority. And in that case, maybe your physical health is going to take a back seat. You might not
Hmm.
exercise and your food choices may not be what they normally would. That's okay because
Right.
you're working really hard on your mental and emotional health right now. That's okay. And then those things will resolve and you will then get back into, more concentrated nutrition and exercise behaviors. Like, it's what you do over the course of your life that counts, right? But we
Uh,
tend to think about health in these like 12-week challenge
right.
spurts, right?
Right. It's true. There are seasons and cycles to everything we do. Our bodies are always changing. Our lives are always going through transitions of one kind or another, and nothing is ever stagnant. So why would our weight ever be, right? Why would
Yeah.
we ever expect our weight to be the one thing that never changes and then get so upset when it does? It seems ridiculous. But when you put it that way, that it is going to change. And sometimes the physical aspect of your health does have to take a backseat to, maybe your relationships or your mental or emotional well-being, or even your spiritual well-being. I mean, there are always things that you need to prioritize. So I love that you said that, because I don't think everybody always realizes that health isn't like the most, your physical health isn't always the most important thing in your life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's okay if it isn't, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's wellness culture has us believing that that's like our number one priority all the time, but sometimes it can't be, and we should not feel
Mhm.
ashamed if we have to prioritize other things.
Oh, I love
Mm-hmm.
that. I think that is a good place to end our conversation, because your story is really a testament to the power of personal growth and the importance of embracing a truly holistic approach to not just wellness, but to fitness and to health in general.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
really, that,
So I'm going to pull out a few things for everybody that I think are some of the most important aspects of what I'm personally going to take away from our conversation today. And feel free to jump in here at any time, Kim. If I'm missing the mark on something or if you want to add, please do. Because the first thing I really notice is that your journey underscores the importance of moving beyond the aesthetic goals in fitness and really focusing on other things like strength and capability and maybe your overall well-being.
100%.
And I also see that you're highlighting how the focus on weight loss and body shaping in the fitness industry really often leads to a harmful cycle of starting and stopping and contributes to that feeling of failure that so many of us have when we're not successful at being fit or staying thin. It really moves us further away from what the idea or concept of true health is.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
true fitness, right?
Yes, right. And I also really appreciate that your approach to training and nutrition emphasizes the mental, the emotional, and the physical all along together, really demonstrating the need for that holistic approach to health and fitness and wellness that so many other programs seem to be missing.
Yeah. Yeah. I, I take pride in that, right? Like, I just think we can't silo fitness, right?
Right,
And, I think there's a misconception that we can solve all our problems if we just get fit and get healthy. And it's
right.
like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, my life would be perfect if I could just learn to love running, but that's never going to
Yeah.
happen. So
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
I also think it's really fascinating that your personal experience with, that kind of unhealthy obsession with diet and exercise can really serve as a powerful reminder for the need for balance, but also for
Ugh.
self-compassion in all of our fitness
Mm.
and nutrition endeavors.
Yes. Yes. That was the missing piece for me for so long, right? And
Mhm.
I can recognize it in people right away when I see that behavior. Is like, at the end of the day, I was just trying to punish myself. I was trying to force myself to be something that I wasn't. I was trying to change so I could feel better about me. And I can recognize that when I see people doing that, and I'm like, I just wish you could see how awesome you actually are. I wish you could see
Yeah.
your worth. So that's why I branched out into body image coaching, because I'm like, there's so much more we need to work on than just giving you a fitness program.
Right. And I didn't think about it before, but you're right. The idea of punishing ourselves with exercise, I don't know that we often realize that's what we're doing. But if we're punishing ourselves for overeating or for gaining weight or for not looking like fashion models or for, the popular girl in school or whatever, then no wonder we have a disordered relationship
Right.
with fitness and exercise because we look at it as punishment. Why would anybody want to do that?
Right.
It makes no
Right.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like your success with your clients really stems from your ability to customize your coaching to meet their needs and really proves that a one size fits all approach to fitness and nutrition is absolutely ineffective.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And I also love how passionately you address and challenge the misconceptions around body size and health, and really how you advocate for a more inclusive and accepting
Mm.
understanding of what fitness and wellness really is.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah.
It I feel so much more in integrity in what I do now, right? Like,
Mhm.
there was always a part of me in the past when I was selling weight loss that felt like a fraud.
Yeah.
And like, what I was doing just wasn't working, and I didn't know why. But like, I feel so good about the work I'm doing now, right? Yeah.
Well, and just hearing that is really inspiring. I mean, you are a person with a super inspiring story that really begins with your own struggles with body image. And your journey is one of transformation, resilience, and profound insight. So if
Hmm.
you can do it for you, I know you can do it with your clients.
Aw, that's so
Yeah.
nice of you to say.
Do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom you want to leave us with today?
Oh gosh, I think we touched on just about everything, but I think at the end of the day, it's really about looking at what matters, right? And really looking at who you're being, how you want to show up, how you want to feel in your body, and knowing that who you are is enough. And then your fitness and nutrition just comes from that place, right? It's about taking care
Yeah.
of the body you have rather than trying to change your body and be something different.
Yeah, I love
Mm.
that. Well, what
Mhm.
are some of the things that you're either working on right now or going to be offering in the future that our listeners can get excited about?
Sure. Yeah, I have a couple of different one-on-one offers. I do one-on-one personal fitness training, both in person. I'm in Ontario, Canada, though, so probably
Mhm.
most of your listeners are at a distance. I also offer the virtual personal training. And like we talked about, it's very, very customized to your unique goals and
Mhm.
needs and abilities. And if you know you're working out at your home, I just use the equipment you have. You don't even have to have a fully decked out home gym. So we have that. I also have one-on-one body acceptance coaching where we dig into the deeper stuff behind the relationship with exercise. And I have a group program right now called Right Body for Me, which is my group coaching program where we really dig into our body image and our relationship with exercise and food. So it kind of brings all of those pieces together in a group environment, which I love because it can feel very isolating to do this work
Yeah.
again. Like when I did it, I was like, I don't know what this is, and I'm all alone. So having other people that are going on that journey with you can be so helpful. So yeah, so
Yeah.
those are the three things I have right now.
Great. Well, what's the best way for our listeners to contact you or to find out how to work with you?
Yeah. So I have a podcast as well, as Holly mentioned. It's the
Mhm.
Power in Motion podcast, and it's on all of the different platforms. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Radiant Vitality Wellness, and my website is radiantvitality.ca. So any of those places are great to connect.
Terrific. Well, I'm going to include all the links to Kim's social media, her website, and her podcast, Power in Motion, in the show notes. So if you weren't taking notes when you were listening to the podcast today, they will all be in the show notes with links to everything and how you can reach Kim. Today's episode with Kim Hagle not only shared valuable insights, but also provided some really actionable steps for anybody looking to find balance, respect for their body, and pursue a path of holistic health. And remember, the journey to wellness is as much about the mind and the spirit as it is about the body. Kim, thank you for sharing your journey and wisdom and for the inspiring stories that you shared with each one of us that were really going to help us embrace a more compassionate and empowering approach to health and fitness.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Holly. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you, Kim. For everybody else, stay well. Until next time, bye for now.